Veronika Tugaleva wrote, "Who will you love if not yourself? Other people? You will not love anyone or anything until those eyes in the mirror soften up and embrace the beauty that is already within. Let us resist despondency and boredom and the litany of our own failures and of the injustices of the world. Let us transfigure the world inside of our hearts that we may perceive its beauty in its light."
Well, good morning on this cold polar vortex kind of day. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. I'm Reverend Amy Petrie Shaw. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. And as always, I'm speaking to you now from land that is the traditional territory of the indigenous Iowa people. Birch Spick is our celebrant this morning. Give a wave, Birch. Say hi to everybody. Barb Martin is our song leader, and Bruce Martin is our pianist. And Susan Jellinger is our pastoral care associate for this week. I'd like to ask that you please keep your mics muted throughout the service. After the service is over, we'll open it up for a coffee hour and breakout rooms. And then you can turn your mics and your cameras all on and enjoy some time together. Reverend Peter Morales wrote, "Because love cannot keep silent, we will bear witness. Because love reaches out, we will join hands with our partners. Because love is sacred, we will worship together. Because love delights in friendship, we will celebrate together. Because love opens us at the core of our being, we will learn, we will be moved, we will be changed. Because love is strong, we will prevail. Not today, maybe not next week or next month, but love is stronger than fear. Love is stronger than hate. Love is not afraid. Love is tough. And love endures. We will prevail. So come and let us celebrate here together."
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. My name is Birch Spick, and my pronouns are they, them, and theirs. On behalf of this congregation, we're glad that you've joined us virtually this morning in this community that grows ethically and spiritually, serves justly, and loves radically. No matter who you are or where you're from, no matter whether you live in Des Moines or have ever been to First Unitarian, we welcome you here. Whoever you are, we hope that you find thoughts which nurture and challenge you. Here, we hope you find a community and people which invite and accompany you on whatever journey you may be taking. Our gathering song this morning is number 347, "Gather the Spirit." The words are copied in the chat screen. Barb Martin will lead us in song, and please keep your mics muted and sing along at home if you like.
song in all in store. Nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
Thank you, Barb and Bruce. Our time for all ages this morning is a story called The Undefeated by Kwame Alexander and Kadir Nelson. It's going to be read by Lucille Gunther.
My name is Lucille Gunther, and I will be reading The Undefeated, written by Kwame Alexander, illustrated by Kadir Nelson. This is for the unforgettable, the swift and sweet ones who hurdled history and opened a world of possible. The ones who survived America by any means necessary. And the ones who didn't. This is for the undeniable, the ones who scored with chains on one hand and faith in the other. This is for the unflappable, the sophisticated ones who box adversity and tackle vision, who shine their light for the world to see and don't stop to break of dawn. This is for the unafraid, the audacious ones who carried the red, white, and weary blue ones on the battlefield to save an imperfect union. The righteous marching ones who sang, "We shall not be moved," because Black Lives Matter. This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unspeakable. This is for the unlimited, unstoppable ones, the dreamers and doers who swim across the big sea of our imagination and show us the majestic shores of the promised land. The Wilma Rudolphs, the Muhammad Allies, the Althea Gibsons, the Jesse Owens, the Jordans and the LeBrons, the Serena and the Cheryls, the Reese Whiteleys and the undiscovered. This is for the unbelievable, the we real cool ones. This is for the unbending, the black as night is beautiful ones. This is for the underdogs and the uncertain, the unspoken, but no longer untitled. This is for the undefeated. This is for you, and you, and you. This is for us.
Thank you so much for reading that, Lucille. That was gorgeous. And I'm sharing the link if anybody would like that, that story. Our offertory today is done in my normal solemn style. A preacher was completing a temperance sermon, and with great expression he shouted, "If I had all the beer in the world, I would take it and I would throw it into the river." And with even greater emphasis he said, "And if I had all the wine in the world, I would take it and I would throw it into the river." And finally he said, "And if I had all the whiskey in the world, I would take it and I would throw it into the river." And then he sat down with emphasis, and the song leader stood up very cautiously, and she announced with a pleasant smile, "For our offering song, let us sing together hymn number 365, Shall We Gather at the River?" We may be able to rescue a cup of rum, but since no one is throwing away dollars these days for me to scoop out, the morning offering will now be given and received through a link in the chat. One half of this goes to our internal social justice work, and one half to our Faith in Action partners, Planned Parenthood and Central Iowa Immigrant Support Coalition. Thank you so much for the gifts that each of you brings to this congregation. We have a spotlight this morning. We are going to spotlight our first annual First Unitarian Music and Arts Fair, the FUFFAMAF, and our stewardship team. And I think we have Sally Buckhold here to shine a light on it.
So good morning, First Unitarian. It's great to see all of you this morning. So do you have the FAFUMAF on your calendar? Practice saying it, FAFUMAF. Yes, it's the first annual First Unitarian Music and Art Festival, and it is the hottest ticket in town. It's all happening on Saturday, February 27th. The doors, because it's on Zoom, the doors open at 5:30 and the fun starts at 6. FAFUMAF is free to attend, and it's not like you were going out anyway. Just pause Netflix for the night and join the live fun. Put on your fancy duds, well, at least this part of you, and you can wear your pajamas where we can't see them. And join us for a night of, we have over a dozen musicians from First Unitarian who are participating. We're going to have bidding on original works of art by artists in our congregation. You know, it's really easy to forget how much talent there is in our community until it smacks you in the nose. Make your pledge that night for the coming church year to win raffle prizes. Yes, it's all for a good cause, for the health and vitality of our common church home. And of course, it's on Zoom, silly, but we hope that next year's event, SASUMAF, will be live and in person. Until then, join us for FAFUMAF and let's kick off 21-22 in style, February 27th, 5:30 p.m. on Zoom. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sally. It's going to be awesome. And I am really looking forward to it. I've been looking at the pictures of the art for the past 2 days, and they are incredible. It is such a joy to be a part of this community with so many wonderful people in it, because our church isn't about the building, and it isn't about the grounds, and it isn't about being there together in person. It's about being a community of human hands and human hearts and coming together to share the fun and the good and the bad and all the things in between. We have a couple of joys and sorrows this week. I'm going to share an address in the chat. Jean Evans is now in skilled care at Legacy Point and has said that they would enjoy cards and emails. So if you want to connect, the address is there in the chat. Florence Freddie is going to be celebrating her 98th birthday on Valentine's Day, February 14th. And that is just exciting. I'm pulling up the address now so I can share it. She would definitely love cards. Other joys are that Florence has received her second COVID vaccination and she loves her new apartment. So I'm going to share Florence's address there. Please feel free to send Florence a card. I'd like us to share together now in the chat the names of anyone who could use some special love or care or attention this week. As we type their names, let the love of this community hold them all. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May the work of our hands and our hearts support and comfort all those who are marginalized, oppressed, silenced, or at risk. May we never look away when we are needed. May those who are grieving be comforted. May you be comforted. May those who are tired find rest. May you find rest. May the broken places be healed. May you be healed. And may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant. Now together we light 3 candles, physically or virtually, one for the joys and the sorrows we've shared here, and one for the names we've written, and one last candle for all those joys and all those sorrows that we hold deeply in our heart, but which have remained unspoken here today.
Comfort me, oh my soul.
We have a second brief spotlight today. I'm going to ask Ron Heidemann to come and share with us the upcoming event from the Social Justice Leadership Team. Ron, if you would.
Good morning, UUs. The Social Justice Ministry Leadership Team invites you to Social Justice and You on Saturday, February 13th at 1 p.m. on Zoom, of course, for an exploration of justice work we can do now within a UU context. We'll spend time thinking about and sharing our values and our passions, our concerns, and our desires for change. We'll reflect on and honor the social justice work we've been inspired to do together. Imagine new ways we can build a better world in community with one another going forward, and learn about existing First Unitarian initiatives you can plug into right now. Join us and explore the intersection of your values, your gifts, and the needs of our community. Find the link in the intercom. I hope you'll join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
The words of our first reading today are by Dan Pierce, author, photographer, and artist. This is an excerpt from the essay, Love Your Neighbor as Yourself, No Thanks. People who love themselves don't hurt other people, not on purpose, ever. They have no need to hurt other people. They have no other need to bully others. They have no need to feel better than or superior to others. They realize that the need to feel superior always stems from a core belief that one is inferior to others. The need to dominate others always stems from a core belief that one is or might end up being dominated by others. The need to bully others always stems from a history or a fear of being bullied. The need to be better than others always stems from a belief that others are somehow better than us. I don't care how you twist it, how you kink it, or how you dissect it. This is a reality that ultimately can't be argued. But it will be argued and always has been argued. Because to some degree, every one of us does it. It's human nature. And who wants to admit that we do it at all, let alone that we do it because we ourselves feel inferior, dominated, bullied, or less than others? We as human beings don't like to admit that we have weakness or vulnerability. We don't like to admit that we have skeletons in our own closets. We don't like to believe that we have hurtful or hateful thoughts about not only those we don't know, but about those who are closest to us. We don't like to believe that we're anything less than ideal, anything less than sane, anything less than perfect. And by hurting others, we don't have to. Being hurtful or hateful is the magic tonic that makes it all go away. It lets us bury it, disguise it, hide it. Put a sheep's skin onto it and go prancing around, wolfing down the good, unsuspecting people around us. Love your neighbors as yourself. It's a scary thought, a real scary thought, to me anyway. What the directive should probably be is love yourself and then love your neighbor as yourself. Or better yet, just love yourself. Because when we love ourselves, we love our neighbors automatically and without thinking about it.
Today's words to think about for meditation are an excerpt from Love Yourself Teachings by Buddha by writer and teacher Evelyn Lim. Buddha observes you can travel around the world to search for someone more lovable than yourself, and yet that person is never found. In other words, the search is not external but internal. You first find it from within. To love the self is to be in continuous connection with your true essence. You learn to accept, appreciate, and affirm who you are. So, holding these words in mind, please join me for a few minutes of silent thought, meditation, or prayer.
Our second reading is a traditional telling of Nian, the story of the Chinese New Year. Long ago in the mountains, there lived a horrible monster named the Nian. Every year, on the first day of the year, the creature would wake and wander around the village. He would eat all the grain and livestock. And if there were any unfortunate children stuck outside, they would disappear. The villagers lived in fear of this beast and boarded up their houses on this night to protect their families. One year, right before this event was to occur, an old man visited the village. He turned to the villagers and said, "Why do you fear this creature so much? You are many, and he is but one. Surely he could not swallow all of you." But the villagers remained skeptical and locked themselves up anyway. That night, the Nian did not come. The old man had ridden him until dawn, and the creature went back to his cave hungry. This went on for several nights until the old man revealed, "I cannot protect you forever." The villagers were terrified that once the old man left, they would once again see Nian return. So the old man said to them, "Let me tell you a secret. The beast is easily scared. He does not like the color red. He fears loud noises and strange creatures. So tonight, spread red across the village. Hang red signs on every door. Make loud noises with drums, music, and fireworks. And to protect your children, give them face masks and lanterns." The villagers did as the old man told them, and Nian never returned again. Our centering song today is 1028, Fire of Commitment.
Thank you all so much. My friend David is a vegan eco-activist, and he lives in the Pacific Northwest. He is a brave and totally incomprehensible man who loathes pizza, hates ice cream, knits his own underwear, and believes that some deity intended for him to spend his time hiking in the Selkirk Mountains and living off the land. Now, for those of you who do not know that area in the Pacific Northwest where David spends his days in a 2-room cabin, enjoying brewer's yeast on his popcorn, let me explain that while it is called the Selkirk Mountains, it is known as something different. And what it is known as is something called a grizzly bear recovery zone. Grizzly bear recovery zone. I don't even like the sound of that in relation to myself. Sounds lovely as something hundreds of miles away. What that means is that approximately 40 grizzly bears live close enough to him to stop in for a visit and a game of cards. It may surprise you, or maybe not, to know that I have never visited David at home. But I asked him once, in the spirit of friendly inquiry only, how in the name of all that is holy, unholy, and weird did he manage to live next door to 40 bears. And he said something really interesting. He said, I don't feed them. He said, here's the thing. If you leave out even a little food, one cookie, one Cheeto, some apple peels, the scraps of last night's dinner, even a little food, they will come back every day for more, and you will never get rid of them. If you do not feed them, not even once, not even a little bit, they leave you alone. Now, the Chinese villagers in the story of the Nian originally and apparently did not get this memo. There are multiple versions of the story of how Chinese New Year got started, the Spring Festival, how that came to be. One of the simpler, gentler versions was our reading this morning, but the full story is a little more complicated. Every year in that one village, the New Year was a time of absolute terror, because when the Nian would wake up and come prowling, they knew they were in trouble. The monster supposedly ate anything outside, so people started wrapping up what was essentially a Nian picnic. They would wrap up the best food they had and put it in a bundle in front of their door, hoping the Nian would eat up all the bundles and be too stuffed to eat them. For any of you who grew up with the Yogi Bear cartoons, I don't think most things would turn down a picnic if it was handed to them, and the Nian was no exception. So all these people made up these monster picnics and then boarded themselves into their home. But after a while, they figured out that while the Nian would eat all the bundles and then go prowling for more, he had a favorite food. He liked to eat children. And if he ate a few little children, he would stop eating and go home to go to sleep. And in the words of Dr. Seuss, someone had a terrible, awful idea. So some families who had their oldest son safely inside, would find late errands on that day for a younger child or two that they could safely afford to spare, and then they would board up the door behind them, accidentally, of course, a little earlier than usual. And the well-fed Nian would leave a little sooner. It was Hongyang Laozu, who some say was a monk and others claim was a god in disguise, who arrived and asked why the villagers hid inside and fed this monster. And when they told him the story, Laozu was horrified. "Let me go talk to him," he said. And so when he found the Nian, he said, "Nian, I've come to reason with you. Stop eating and terrorizing the people of China." But the Nian said, "You've delivered yourself to me, old man, and now I'm going to eat you." And Laozu said, "But what will that prove? Eating me isn't great. Would you dare to eat the poisonous snakes in the mountain? That sounds much braver." And the Nian said, "Well, of course I would." So he rushed off and he ate all the poisonous snakes. And he came back and said, there you have it. Am I not great?" And Laozu said, "Well, at the back of the mountain over there are a lot of really dangerous beasts. Maybe you should go subdue them. That would prove you were great." So the Nian went over the mountain, ate all the really dangerous beasts, and came flapping back and said, "Old man, now it is time for me to eat you." And Laozu said, "Sure, but just wait till I take my clothes off. I mean, I've been wearing them for a while. I will taste and smell better if you let me remove these." And the Nian said, "Okay." And so he yanked off his shirt and he dropped his pants and he said, "Now you can eat me." Except underneath his clothing, he had on bright red underwear. This is in the traditional story, bright red underwear. And the Nian started screaming and he said, "Oh, red underwear, I hate red. Get out of my sight. I don't want to eat you. Go away quickly." And Lao Tzu said, "Ha ha, I knew you were afraid of red." And he jumped on top of him and he rode him into the town and said, "Villagers, do not be afraid. He's afraid of red. From now on, every house, paste as much red as you can on your door to prevent this Nian from creating havoc." I want you to think about that. This terrible, horrible, no good, very bad monster scared away by a pair of red underdrawers. Today, the red doors and the story of Hongyang Laozu riding the dragon in his underwear have become a celebration of fireworks and red clothing and masks for children and dragon parades. And Chinese New Year is celebrated every year around this time in almost every place where there's a strong Chinese population or influence. As UUs, we can understand this holiday as a cultural celebration and even join in a normal year, places like Chicago or San Francisco, even downtown Milwaukee, where we were before this, had a lovely celebration. But it's not the cultural celebration that intrigues me so much, or that I think is so relevant to us. Whenever I hear about the Nian, I remember David and his grizzly bears. I remember that you can't feed them or they'll never go away. Each of us has a Nian or two or six in our lives. Fears that show up at intervals, our own personal monsters, the monsters we feed, the things that keep us from loving ourselves as much as we can. Things like fear of abandonment and loss, insecurities. Our fears are as different as we are. Financial and social, trust, lust, embarrassment, addiction, weight loss, weight gain, you name it, somebody is worried about it. Now, some of our Nians are little tiny. They're little lizards of self-doubt. They're worms of worry. Some of them are dragon-sized. And this is the time of year to take a good look at them, because you can remember it if you tie it to the Chinese New Year. You can remember to sit down, put on that brave red, and ask yourself, what monsters am I feeding? Where are the places in my life where I knock myself down, tear myself up, but leave at least a little that I'm not worth or worthy of the joy of life? And more than that, where are the places where I send my newest ideas and freshest thoughts away to die? What are the little children that I lock outside the door and send off to be eaten? What are the fresh ideas that I kill in order to protect all my old habits? What am I feeding to my fear? And when you've done that, then you ask yourself the next question: where did I put my red underwear? What is my armor that I'm going to put on? What simple thing do I have to do somewhere underneath to help me fight my self-doubt, to help me kill not only my dragon, but to ride it before it dies? What's my fear afraid of? And I had to think about this as I was writing. You know, since I've been a kid, One of my biggest fears was that I was going to make a terrible mistake. I was going to look bad. I was going to screw up my life. And outside of my job, I got around it in a way that I thought was very clever, at least. I made it somebody else's fault, right? None of you have ever done that, I am sure. I made other people responsible for the decision. And then, of course, the part that goes with that is then you blame them when things go wrong, right? It's all their fault. So you ask your partner, what do you want for dinner? Pizza? Great. The pizza takes 90 minutes to get there. It's burnt. And you look at them and say, you know, you really should have thought about it being Friday night. I mean, you knew it was going to take forever to get the pizza. It's all their fault. But when I was trying to decide if I wanted to go to seminary, I tried to feed my Nian one more time, one time too many, as it turned out. I tried to make my now ex-husband decide for me. I was very sensible. I said, you know, I'm a nurse and this, it's horrible. All the things have been going on at work and the environment and the area we're in. I'm trying to decide if I should go to seminary. I need to make the decision now. What do you think I should do? And he looked at me like I'd grown a second head and said, no. What? He didn't joke. He didn't pretend. He said, you have to decide this for yourself. You can make the decision and I'll support you, whatever you decide, but you have to decide. This one's yours. I cried. I yelled. I blamed him for not being supportive. He wasn't helpful at all, by gosh. This was all his fault. I was not going to be able to go to seminary because I just knew he was just not participating in this process. Then I took a deep breath and knocked it off and found my red underwear somewhere in the middle of my mind. And I realized this was my responsibility, mine, good or bad, mistake or not. And I was able to grab that dream of being a minister, that hope of being a minister, away from my Nian before he could swallow it. You can't always be the hero. You can't always kill the dragon and slay the fear, but you can always be the clown in the red drawers trying like heck. Getting on top of that fear and hanging on for dear life. And once you're on top, it's amazing how much easier it is to stay there. Chinese New Year can be the time of year for mindful assessment, can be a seasonal reminder to celebrate all of the things you can do, all of the things that you are. Can be a time to think about how to ride your fears rather than to keep them at bay. Because loving yourself is important. Knowing that you're the hero you're waiting for, that's important. I've had more than one person tell me that wasn't the important bit. I'm totally wrong. Loving other people is the only important bit. Loving your neighbor as yourself, as they say. I've heard that phrase. It's really common here. And some people think it's the real goal, that all the pain in the world comes because we're unable to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. But we're not unable. The pain comes because we are able. We love our neighbors exactly as much as we are able to love ourselves. If I think that I'm ugly and ugly is bad, how do I see beauty without jealousy? If I secretly believe that people are only nice to me because it's necessary or convenient or beneficial to them, then I'm forced to believe that all my friends are shallow. If I'm only loved because, then I'm saying that everyone else only loves because. You can only love as deeply as you are willing to be loved. If I love you and you think you're unlovable, then you must also believe that I am either lying, or I just don't know you. As Dan Pierce said, what the directive should probably be is love yourself. Love yourself. And then love your neighbor as yourself, or better yet, just love yourself. Celebrate yourself this Chinese New Year. You are not perfect. None of us are, but you are perfect enough in an imperfect world. Trust yourself. Learn that others are trustworthy. Believe in yourself and learn to have faith in humanity. Look in a mirror and see that the world is a beautiful place because it produced you. Love yourself and love your neighbor. Ride your Nian. Wear your red underwear and do not feed the bears. Just don't feed the bears. Amen.
We extinguish this chalice and we carry into the world the flame of self-care and self-love. Our final song today is 326, Let All the Beauty We Have Known.
Let all the beauty we have known illuminate our hearts and minds. Rejoice in wonders daily shown, in faith and joy and love that binds. We celebrate with singing.
Free yourselves from the dragons you are feeding. Celebrate your own existence with joy. You are enough. You are enough. Peace, ashe, and may it be so.